Welcome to Savannah, Georgia. We are here at Forsyth Park. Welcome back. We are in Jack Hills State Park Campground. It is in Reedsville, Georgia. It's a beautiful area. It's a smaller state park. We've got plenty of room at our campsite. We've got our own picnic table and fire pit. Each campsite is pretty well spaced out. So it's a really nice area and the weather's been gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a good change of pace from the last couple of weeks, both in the space of our campsites, especially compared last week to North Carolina. And we haven't had to worry once about our water line freezing overnight. So that's been really nice. It's been in the high 60s, mid 70s all week. It has been fantastic.
Yes, so beautiful. So the campsite here has less than 35 sites. So again, it is a little bit smaller of a campground. But here there's also the Brazils golf course. Literally a golf ball throw away.
Right over there.
Right over there. And there's several cottages around here. We're kind of facing facing a couple of them one way, and then the other ones are further down towards the golf course.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's been a really awesome place. So in addition to the campsites, they also have a small lake here, which is kayakable. They do some kayak and paddle boat rentals, some john boat rentals. It's stocked with fish. It's not massive, but it's definitely good enough size to enjoy it as an amenity here at the park. The park's been extremely clean, very well maintained. The laundry facility and the bathrooms here are both in really good shape. Fortunately, we didn't have to use the shower house too often since we did have full hookups this week. Being able to shower in the camper is a luxury for sure. But checked them out and everything looked pretty good.
Yeah. So there are gators in the lake, apparently. So that always makes me a little nervous, but they do have campsites pretty much right next to the lake, so I guess they don't bother anyone.
Yeah,
we're further back from the lake, so we didn't have to worry about that too much.
Yeah, I didn't see any gators when we were down near it, but it is December now, wow. And if there is, they would probably put active warning signs up.
Yeah. So for this campsite, there are limited spaces to hike. There's only one kind of trail. They called it the nature trail, or there's a swamp trail that's supposed to be a mile. We did it a couple of times throughout the week, and I don't think it was anywhere near a mile.
No way. So the part of the trail is currently closed. I believe that's for maintenance. So we didn't get to go on that. I believe that was part of the nature trail. But it when that's open, I'm sure it's a nice amenity to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in Reedsville, Georgia. We've been here for the past week. It's a smaller town. It has your basic amenities like a grocery store, a couple of shops, gas stations, and a McDonald's, but there's nothing super huge here.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a lot to do that we found. So the state park seems to be the big attraction here, the golf course. But it's only about a 30 minute drive away from some of the bigger towns with more things. The nearest Walmart is about 30 minutes away in Vidalia, Georgia. Vidalia, I'm not sure how to say it. There is.
I think it's Vidalia, like
Vidalia.
Like the onions, because it's Vidalia, Georgia. The onion.
I don't like onions, so I didn't even know there was an onion called the Vidalia.
Yeah, because they have an onion museum.
You know. So that has a lot more shops. There's more places to dine, and like I said, that's where the closest Walmart is. So it's not too bad of a drive to get there.
We made a quick trip into Savannah for about 4 or 5 hours this past Saturday, and it was a beautiful area. We got to see the historic district, got to see some of the parks. Again, we were only there for 4 or 5 hours. You could have easily spent probably a week or at least a 3-day weekend in Savannah just exploring everything that they have.
It is an absolutely beautiful area, and we wished initially when we were looking for places to stay, we wanted to stay as close to Savannah as possible. Unfortunately, we were scheduling last minute, so weren't able to find anything much closer. And the hour drive in made it so that we didn't kind of go there every night or anything like that. So um,
The first place we visited in Savannah was the Wormslow Historic Site. Now, this is a beautiful historic site. So they've got live oaks lining basically a private drive, or like a private area. They call it the Live Oak Avenue. It's beautiful. There's Spanish moss coming down in between it as we were driving to go to the actual visitor center of that spot. We saw multiple photographers there. People, looks like they were taking senior pictures,
engagement photos,
princess gowns. I mean, it was crazy.
Anything you could think of.
And they had only been open for like 45 minutes when we got there. So
yep,
I can imagine how crazy it normally gets.
Yeah, so the entrance was $10 per person, which, depending on how much time you're going to spend there, is probably worth it. For us, we thought it might be a little expensive, but definitely worth the view. Live Oak Avenue is beautiful. Once you get into the actual, into the historic site, there's still some really cool things to see. If you had kids or something that wanted to learn a little more about like Southern colonial times, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it overlooked the really nice salt
flats or salt lands.
That area. So we were able to look on that and see all of the historic stuff there.
Yeah, so one thing that we want to mention is that while it was an absolutely beautiful site with, a lot of history, it is Southern U.S. history. And there were some parts that we thought were missing from the documentation that the state had put up there. It's important to note that it was a slave plantation. There were slaves that were used for a lot of the maintenance of that property throughout history. From what we learned and from what we could find online, and again, we are no historians, but it appears that Live Oak Avenue was planted after the end of slavery. Whether that it makes it better or not, we aren't sure, but we definitely thought that that information should have been more accessible at the park. As a matter of fact, when we were looking through the site, we could only find one or two mentions of the fact that slaveries were on the property at all, which doesn't seem right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, we're not historians. If you have better or more information on this for this particular site, we'd love to read about it, because we were trying to look into this information. The state didn't have a lot there wasn't a lot on this actual site, and there wasn't a lot on the website either. So it was kind of just how we could try and figure out information, because it felt like they weren't talking about it.
But again, it was a beautiful park. If you're in the area, we definitely recommend you go see it. There's a lot to do in Savannah, but I think it's worth the trip, especially if you're a photographer or just like to see some really interesting landscapes.
The remainder of our time in Savannah, Georgia was spent in the historic downtown district. We went to Forsyth Park. It was a beautiful park. They had a really beautiful fountain there, tons of space to kind of sprawl out. There was people there. Looked like there was a marketplace happening. There was a 5K in the morning. That looked like it was kind of dissolving by the time we got there.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful place.
Yeah, a lot going on that weekend. We expected it to be busy. We didn't necessarily expect it to be that busy. So we were fortunately able to find some spots to get some drone footage while we were in downtown Savannah, making sure to, keep a good standing distance from other people and making sure that, we followed all the rules and stuff. So here you can see us flying over Forsyth Park. We were able to get some shots of the fountain. Not everything that we would want to get, but again, we had people to deal with. Safety comes first. It was an awesome park. So something that you don't see in the drone footage is there was like police mounted on some massive draft horses.
While we were at Forsyth Park, we walked on over. It's a very walkable city and area. We went on over to Congregation McVie Israel. This is the third oldest Jewish congregation in the United States. It was assembled in 1733. The synagogue itself is one of 15 most beautiful synagogues in the world. It was a beautiful place, especially being there during Hanukkah. So that was really cool for us, for me.
Seeing the menorah outside was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and it's got a really unique, they called it a Gothic style of architecture. So definitely cool. And that was just one building along many of the really unique architectures and historic sites and historical buildings and things like that. I know the founder of Girl Scouts has a historic home area down there as well to tour. So there's tons of that stuff to do.
Yeah, honestly, if you don't have anything to be doing, you're in the area, going into Savannah and just walking around, there's a lot to see. There's little like historical pieces here and there just all over the town. It's really, really interesting. After we were at the synagogue, we decided to head back to the car and drive over to a restaurant called the Trailer Park for lunch. It was a really, really, honestly, pretty good lunch. The one mistake we made is, I think, driving. Something that we haven't mentioned yet in Savannah. If you are planning on going, park your car once. Park it as centrally located to everything you want to go see as possible, and then walk from there, because finding parking can be really difficult, especially when you drive a large truck that has kayaks strapped to the top, because parking garages are not an option. Parking wasn't really expensive. It was just hard to find.
Yeah.
We ended up parallel parking on a side street that was only about a 10-minute walk to the trailer park, and that was fine. So at the trailer park, we ordered a couple of interesting things. The first was their peanut butter and jelly wings. I believe do we have a photo of that?
Yeah, we have a photo of that, and I'll put it up here. But yeah, peanut butter and jelly wings. It was an appetizer, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna try this.
Yeah.
Well, I was. Maybe Austin not so much.
Here's our review for it. She really liked it. I probably wouldn't order it again. It was an interesting flavor, definitely worth trying once, but more as a novelty to me. I ordered patty melt that came with some interesting fries. It was almost like ribbon fries, but not quite. But it was good, honestly. So the food was really good. We had quite the wait.
Yeah, it was a long wait, 45 minutes. But again, because we were a block away from River Street, so it was a 45-minute wait. But we were able to get it through our phone, so we didn't have to just stand there and wait. So we were able to go see the beautiful River Street and kind of walk around and stuff like that. Well, I was at the trailer park. I got the shrimp grit tacos, which were super good. I've actually never eaten shrimp and grits, like the like the OG kind of stuff. The originals. The original shrimp and grits, not like the first one.
The OG original grandma. The way grandma used to make them.
I had never eaten the traditional shrimp and grits, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna order shrimp and grit tacos. Super good. They were a little spicy, which she did warn me about.
She made it through it.
I did make it through it. After the first bite, I thought I wasn't going to, but nonetheless, I did make it through, and they were super good.
Yeah. So, as we were at River Street, I definitely think it's worth mentioning again how awesome of an area that is. If you have some time, like we did before you get a table at a restaurant, even just like 30, 40 minutes, like just walking down there, seeing the riverside, seeing all of the storefronts that are right there on the riverfront. Here you can see us kind of flying down there. Fortunately, we were able to get some really cool shots there of just what's going on both sides of the river. It was phenomenal. You can see a lot of the city. There's just so much happening down there. Definitely worth going to. Definitely worth a trip in. Savannah, Georgia was honestly someplace I definitely foresee us coming back to stay closer to, so we can experience more of the town.
So my suggestions, if you are planning on going to Savannah, one, the November, December time period is really nice because it's not super hot. As I imagine in the summertime, it would be quite warm. Wear your walking shoes. As we said, parking is a little bit trickier to find, especially if you drive a very big vehicle like we do. So wear your walking shoes. There's a lot of ground to cover. There's also really uneven ground, some cobblestones, things like that. Parking wasn't expensive, as we said. But you're going to want to figure out where you're going to go, where you want to go throughout the historic district. That way you can kind of make the most of wherever you're going to park.
Yeah, you're going to want to plan out your day a little bit before you get there. Or if you don't plan it out and you have, no expectations of being anywhere, park somewhere and just start walking. You will find plenty of stuff to do.
And we're going to leave you guys with a question. So when you travel, do you like to order adventurous dishes like peanut butter and jelly wings or shrimp and grit tacos? Or do you like to,
stick with your favorites?
Stick with your favorites.
Pick the things you know.
And if you do like to be adventurous while you travel as far as your food goes, what is the craziest thing you've eaten?
Or if you've had something that was so crazy that it turned out to be bad and now you don't order crazy things, tell us what it was.
Yeah, we also want to hear that.
All right. Thanks, everybody. If you would like to see more of our content, hit the subscribe button. If you want to be notified of every video as they come out, go ahead and hit that bell icon. You can follow us at Two Techie Travelers on pretty much any social media platform, including now Twitter has been added. So now it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest.
Yes. And then here on YouTube.
Yep. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next time.